All right. I like how everybody can sing that song. I think Netflix has made it possible that you can watch every episode. Anybody here watch like every episode of Friends from beginning to end? Good, good. All right. So, tonight I get the opportunity of talking to you about our second week of relationship goals. And last week, Jordan and Chandler talked to you guys about family and how we kind of have relationships with family. But tonight, I'm going to talk to you about friendships and what your relationship should look like with friendships. Raise your hand if you have ever lost a relationship due to something somebody else did or maybe something you did. Good, good, yep. And I think we've all kind of been there, whether you raised your hand or not. I think usually something happens in a friendship and things just kind of go sideways, and for whatever reason, you end up not being friends anymore. It's rare that, somebody might just move away and you just lose touch or something, but usually something happens and you just kind of end up not being friends anymore. So tonight, what I wanted to do was kind of challenge you guys to look at your friendships in a new way, a better way. And this is one of the reasons we've broken up services so we can have high school and middle school, because what I want to talk to you guys about is really more your high school level, where the middle schoolers may not quite get it. But for you guys, I think you've had enough relationships and friendships that this will make a lot more sense to you. So I know a lot of you personally. I've been in youth group with a lot of you for many years now, and I've heard some of the friendships where they've gone bad, and I've heard both sides of the story and all that. So that's kind of where I built this message. I'm like, how can I help everybody at 155 kind of have stronger friendships and make sure when they do go bad, we were able to fix them. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. So I found this quote that I really liked, and it's by this psychologist named Alfred Adler. And he says this. It says, "It is the individual who is not interested in his fellow men who has the greatest difficulties in life and provides the greatest injury to others. It is from among such individuals that all human failures spring." From individuals that have no interest in their fellow man or woman, all human failures spring from those types of people. And this is what it kind of boils down to. I think once you realize that the world doesn't revolve around just you, you'll become a better friend to other people. Who here owns a dog? Anybody own a dog? Yep. Have you ever wondered why dogs are a man's best friend? You've ever heard that, right? Dog's a man's best friend. This is why. A dog is absolutely in love with making you happy. Dogs will just be there for you all the time, and they're like so excited when you come home, and they're like, they have figured out to be your friend. If they're interested in you, you will be interested in them. Now, if you take a cat, I love cats also, but cats could care less about you. I mean, cats are like, whatever, I'll do my own thing. I'm over here, check me out. It's like dogs make it all about you. And that's why people love dogs so much, because they're so excited to see them, so therefore you're so excited to see them. So if a dog just kind of just sat in the corner over there and never came over to you, you'd be like, check out that dog over there. But when the dog comes over to you and wants you to pet it, you're like, oh, cute doggy, right? So a dog has realized that to be your friend, it has to be interested in you. And that's what we need to do with our friends, is we need to be interested in them. And sometimes that's hard because we live in this culture that everything is me, 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 me. And if you ever maybe look through your text messages to one of your friends and see how many times the word/letter I is in those text messages. Is everything you send your friend about you? I did this, I did this, I did this, check me out, look what I did. Is all your social media based on I? We've gone to this self-centered culture where all of a sudden we have things like, how many likes you get, because it's all about, look what I did, look how many people like me, because it's so self-centered. We have Snapchat. It's all about, look what I did, check me out. In case you're missing my life, you can see it in 30-second intervals all day long. You can see my whole story, everything I've ever done. It's so great. In fact, we even have this term, the dictionary had to add a word to the dictionary thing, Britannica or whoever, added the word selfie because that became a real thing like in the last 10 years. That a selfie didn't exist 10 years ago. Maybe 10, maybe 12 it didn't. But the word selfie, because it's all about you, right? They started creating phones. Guess what? I had like one of the old original flip phones. There was no camera on the front. If you want to take a picture of yourself, you had to like turn it around and just hope, like press the button and then like check it. Nope, that didn't work. Try again. Now we're so self-centered. We want a camera that can always take our own picture, right? All the time. It's all about us. So what we need to do is learn that we need to put our interest in other people to become better friends. And so we have to kind of raise up other people and kind of lower ourselves. So if we want to have healthy friendships, we have to put others' needs in front of our own. And I found this verse in Philippians 2:3-4. I like that. That's like the easiest one ever to remember, right? You should be able to remember this one. Philippians 2:3-4. It says, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Now that's hard, thinking of others as better than yourself. Because society says that you should think of yourself as like the best ever and everybody else is kind of But the Bible says put others above you, think of them as better than yourself. So I'm going to give you 3 ways to put your friends first tonight. The first one is this. Friends listen first, then give advice. Friends listen first and then give advice. Your friendships will rise and fall on your ability to listen to your friend. It's absolutely paramount. How well do you listen? Because everybody wants a friend that when you're going through something, you can talk to them. And depending on your friendship, depends on whether or not that person's going to give you advice or whether they're going to try to solve your problem or whatever they're doing. But everybody wants a true friend that will just listen to them. And we want somebody we trust to give us good advice, so they need to be able to listen to kind of where we're at in life. Proverbs 18:13 says this. It says, spouting off, I love that the Bible says spouting off. That's great. Spouting off before listening to the facts is both shameful and foolish. And I know I've been guilty of this before, where I say I'm listening, but I'm not really listening. Like, I may be a little bit distracted, like maybe I'm on my phone, or maybe I'm watching TV, and like somebody's having a conversation with me, and I kind of pretend I'm paying attention, but I'm not really. I don't know if any of you have been guilty of, but usually you can see it in somebody's posture. Like, you can tell if you're paying attention when you're talking to somebody, whether or not they're really paying attention to you. Because I can do it right now looking through this room. I can tell which of you are paying attention, which of you are like, squirrel, right? I mean, I can tell by your posture and in your mannerisms whether or not you're paying attention. And when somebody's confiding in you, they can tell that as well. So it's all about how you listen to somebody that makes so much sense. And if you're genuine with somebody, you're going to let them tell you everything that's going on before you start giving advice or any of that. I don't know if you've had any of these friends before where it's like, as soon as they start, like some girls like, man, you wouldn't believe what my boyfriend did. And you're like, you should totally break up with him. And they're like, well, no, he bought me roses. Oh, okay. Well, maybe you shouldn't break up with him. But, right, it's like you jumped with the answer right away. Like as soon as they said something, you're like, oh, here's my answer. Like, you didn't even hear the whole story yet, but yet you're ready to kind of throw out your answer right away. So if you want to have good friendships, you have to shut up. I know that's difficult sometimes. Just shut up when somebody's talking to you and just listen to what they're saying. And so maybe after they're done talking and after maybe they're done crying or after they're done punching something, or hopefully not you, just getting their anger out, then you can respond and kind of help them out. And what I would suggest is I got a couple things here you can do. So one thing you can probably do that would be helpful is if somebody's confiding in you and just kind of talking to you, you don't have to like solve their problems. A lot of times people are just talking because they need somebody to hear them. Maybe you can just respond with when they're done and go, okay, how can I help you with that? What can I do to help you with that situation you're going through? Maybe that's all they need is like, they just want to know somebody's got their back, because that's what a true friend does, is they have somebody's back. Or maybe you can say, well, what do you think you should do about that? And maybe just let them work through the process. So what advice can you give somebody as they're struggling and trying to confide in you to kind of help them work through the issues? James 1:19 says, be quick to listen and slow to speak. That is so difficult sometimes. Be quick to listen and slow to speak. Because I'm real quick to speak. I know some of you are quick to speak too, because I have conversations with you, and neither one of us can get a word in edgewise because we're just talking. But you have to be quick to listen, but then slow to speak. Good friends listen first and give advice second. So, number 2, 3 ways to put your friends first is this. Friends overlook faults first before criticizing or judging. Not that you would ever criticize or judge one of your friends, but if you did, you should definitely overlook their faults first. Raise your hand if you have faults. If you're not raising your hand, your fault is that you're a liar. Let me tell you this, if you haven't figured this out yet, your friends are going to mess up. They are going to do something that's going to hurt your feelings, break your heart, accidentally stomp on your toe. Whatever it is, your friends are going to make mistakes because you make mistakes. It's that simple. You're going to make mistakes. Your friends are going to make mistakes. It's all about how you deal with those mistakes that make all the difference. Sometimes maybe a friend shares something with someone else that you didn't want them to share. Has that ever happened to you? Like you confided in them? And so maybe they do that, and you're like, fine, I'm just going to give you the cold shoulder. I'm not going to call you. I got a new friend now. My friend's over here now. You're my old friend. I got a new friend. Because right? Some of you go through best friends like once a week. You're like, oh, my new BFF, hashtag BFF. Next week on Twitter, it's like, oh, my new BFF. I'm like, so-and-so was your BFF last week. What happened? So sometimes that happens. So sometimes, a friend will say something about you, and you need to kind of overlook that fault before you criticize them. I once had a friend that we were standing there hanging out, and he reached in and grabbed the last donut, and I just slapped it out of his hand. I was so mad. I'm like, that's the last donut. You should ask me if I want the last donut. Oh, you guys don't slap your friends' hands for donuts? Yes. Okay. I know some of you would slap somebody's hand for a donut. I just know you would. So good friendships happen when you're able to kind of forgive and forget. You need to overlook their faults because you have faults too. It's that whole do unto others as you wish them to do unto you thing. It's the whole idea of when you mess up, you'd like somebody to overlook those faults before they criticize or judge you. You need to do the same thing to them. And let me just tell you, because I've raised 2 teenage girls, or almost done raising 2 teenage girls, and I was once a teenage boy. You girls are mean to each other. Way meaner than the boys are. Boys are like fist fighting, and then the next day they're like, dude, let's go to Shane's. Girls are like one wrong word, and it's like, nope, we're done. So girls, you definitely need to do this whole overlook faults before criticizing and judging. Please, for the sake of everybody else, just do that. So Luke 6:37 says this on your outline and on the screen. Do not judge others, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn others, or it will all come back against you. Forgive others, and you will be forgiven. Well, let's see. I don't like to be judged. I don't like for stuff to come back against me. And I like to be forgiven. So I definitely need to do all those because I like the other side of all that. So you just have to be quick to give somebody a second chance, or maybe a third chance, or maybe a fourth chance, right? Jesus said you should forgive them like 7 times 7, and it's like this 77 times 7. Thank you. You guys are so much smarter than me. So it's all about just forgiving them for messing up. You have to overlook those faults. Now, one disclaimer here. If you have that friend in your life that is just like constantly just tearing you down or like talking behind your back, and it's just turned into just one of those toxic things, and it's like a total one-sided friendship where you're putting in all the work and they're putting in none of the work, and they've never admitted they've ever done anything wrong to hurt your feelings, you should probably kill that friendship. Just be done with it. You get new friends, because really, life is too short for somebody that's a one-sided friendship like that. I mean, and I know it's tough sometimes. You're like, we've been friends since middle school, and you'll find another friend. If it's a one-sided friendship where somebody's truly like, just mean and never apologizes, and it's never their fault or anything like that, you need to just move on. So that's my little disclaimer for this whole friendship thing. Sometimes it's just better for everybody if you just kind of pack up your bags and move on. So, number 3 on your outline is this. Friends put the needs of others first before their own needs. The best path to a great friendship is to figure out what other people need and provide that for them. Because usually what happens is we kind of demand what we want from people. But instead, if somebody else is just providing what you need, you're like, wow, that guy's a great friend. Like tonight, as an example, I was here, I was a little thirsty, and my throat was all dry, and I was getting ready to speak tonight or whatever, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have brought a drink with me or something. My buddy Chandler shows up with a brand new Killcliff for me. He's like, here, man, you probably need this. I'm like, oh, thank you. He totally knew my needs before I even had to ask. I didn't say, oh man, you guys went to the store and didn't get me anything. Nope, he showed up with the drink for me. I didn't even ask for it. I mean, you ever had one of those moments where a friend just kind of knew what you needed, right? They brought you cookies when you needed them or whatever that might be, right? That's fantastic. Friends put the needs of others first before their own needs. Yesterday, I got this crazy, stupid opportunity to do this Tough Mudder competition. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this. You literally run 10 miles through the woods and then dive in mud puddles. It takes about 3 hours. It's absolutely the dumbest thing I've ever done. But I got put on this team of 6 people. 3 of them I've never met before. 3 complete strangers. But I'll tell you what, because we had to use teamwork and all this stuff through that entire competition, people were pulling me out of mud holes that I've never met before, and after they've conquered something, they're turning around and helping me. I all of a sudden have this great friendship / bond with those 3 people that I had never met before. I spent 3.5 hours with them yesterday, and I already feel like if I ever need anything, I could just call them and they'd have my back. Because they had my back for the first 3.5 hours I met them. They put my needs ahead of theirs. They could have just run on without me because, I'm out of shape. I mean, seriously out of shape. But they didn't. They waited for me. They helped pull me over the wall or helped me pull out of this mud hole that I was in. Because true friends put others' needs before their own needs. Philippians 2:4 also says, don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too. So in order for us to have great friendships with people, we have to have a good relationship with God first, because he kind of straightens out that relationship. I heard a speaker this weekend say, in order to have good horizontal friendships, you must have a good vertical friendship. So in order to have friends horizontally with people here, you first have to have a vertical friendship with God, because he kind of straightens all that out for you. And Jesus is the ultimate relationship person and kind of modeled what relationships look like for us. So if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, you need to do that first tonight. And I know that we've all kind of jacked up some friendships and done some things wrong, but just know that if you just model your friendships after the way Jesus treated people, your friendships will be a lot better. So that was kind of 3 ways to kind of, just make sure you're doing things right, how to have good friends, and just do all that. Now I want to talk to you kind of the other side of the coin a little bit real quick. And that is 3 ways to rebuild a broken trust in a friendship. So what happens when trust has already kind of been thrown out the window? Something bad happened. How do you fix a broken relationship? Because that is so difficult, because admit it, we're all pig-headed and stubborn, and nobody wants to say, I'm sorry, or I forgive you, or anything like that. So let's talk about 3 ways to rebuild a broken trust in a friendship. And this is number 1 on your outline. Let your friend know how much you care. Let your friend know how much you care. And this will probably be harder for guys than it is for girls, because girls generally are a little more mushy about this type of stuff when necessary. Not always, because you can be but guys are a little less, touchy-feely about this kind of stuff. But you should never assume your friend knows how you feel. You need to say it. Pastor Jeff always says this about like married people. If you don't tell your spouse how you feel, how will they ever know? Same thing goes with friendships. If you don't tell your friend what they mean to you, how important they are, then they'll never know, because maybe they feel like you've given up also, so they're ready to give up as well. And so you may not be able to say this in person, because like I said, maybe it's mushy and you're a dude and you're trying to be macho, or maybe your friend won't give you the time of day because you broke their trust or something. So maybe you need to write it in a card and send it to them, send them a text message, carrier pigeon, whatever you need to do to kind of get them the message. But here's some things I thought of that you can kind of maybe say to somebody to kind of let them know how much you care. So maybe it's just this, hey, I haven't told you in a while, but I just want you to know I really care about you. Hey, just so you know, I haven't told you in a while, maybe I never told you at all, but I actually care about you and our friendship. Hey, you're an important person in my life. If somebody walked up to you that, you've had a falling out with, and they just said, you know what, you're a real important person in my life, that might kind of bring down the walls a little bit about kind of what you're arguing about. Maybe it's I hate that we can't find a way to work through this right now. I'd love it if we could just talk about it, though. Or maybe it's, hey, your friendship means a lot to me. Please just call me back. Text me, anything. Please. Your friendship means a lot to me. Because everybody wants to be friends and have friends and all that, but nobody usually says it. Nobody says how important their friendships are to them. So it's so important, if trust has been broken in your friendship, that you need to say those types of things to make sure that other person knows what that is. Right? You're an important person in my life. Your friendship means a lot to me. That's going to go a long way to fixing what's broken. Number two in broken trust in a friendship is this. Give your friend an open invitation to talk. And I'll wait a second because I know you can't spell invitation. Maybe you've tried to call. Maybe you've tried, sending them a note. You've said, hey, your friendship's really important to me. You're really important in my life. It may take your friend longer to get over what happened than it does for you, because maybe you really hurt them. Maybe you screwed up and you really hurt their feelings. They confided in you. You broke that trust. It could take them a while to get over it. But you need to give them an open invitation to kind of talk to you. Because what may happen is you may be friend with somebody that's maybe not a Christian, doesn't have that vertical relationship. They're going to be a lot slower to forgive than you might be. So even if it was kind of a mutual thing, a non-Christian could be a lot slower to forgive because they don't know about forgiveness. They don't know about what Jesus has done and the forgiveness that he's shown. So maybe it's going to take them a little bit longer. But you need to make sure you leave the lines of communication open with that person, just so they know they have an open invitation to talk. Maybe you say something like this. You say, I want you to know that I'm here when you are ready to talk about this. I know you're mad right now. I get it. I screwed up. But I am here when you are ready to talk about this. Maybe you could say, I can see you're angry and want to work on what went wrong. I'll be here when you're ready to talk. I'm sorry for the way things turned out, but when you're ready to talk about it, I want to talk to you. Leave an open invitation for that person to talk to you. And here's an important point, and I've screwed this up in the past, and I don't want you to make the same mistakes I've made, and this is this. If you've messed up with somebody and they won't respond to you, and you've given them an open invitation to talk, you've told them how important they are to you, Don't make the mistake of sending somebody else to try to talk to them for you. Don't send an emissary or whoever that person is, because that never ends well, because now you've pulled a third person into already a kind of a conflict situation, and maybe what they say to that person when they tell you it's the telephone game, so they're like, oh, I'm ready to tell them, blah, 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 blah. But when that person relays that to you, it's a totally different message, and now it's just made matters worse. So don't use somebody else as your person. When that person's ready to talk to you, say, hey, I'm ready to talk to you, but I want this to be a one-on-one thing. Let's not pull a third person into this, because that just gets ugly. Number 3, on how you can mend something when it's gotten broken in a friendship. Number 3, be trustworthy. I know that seems easy. It's not. Trust isn't given unconditionally. In order to receive trust, we kind of have to give trust, and it's kind of a give and take. So what does that mean for your friendships? It means that you are going to have to kind of check in with your friend every once in a while. Maybe you ask a really tough question like, hey, have I ever done anything that's untrustworthy to you? Would you be afraid to ask a friend that? Because that might be a scary answer they might give you, right? Of, have I ever done anything that might make me untrustworthy? So you have to be ready for that answer, though, if you ask them that, because this is a serious conversation you'd have with a very serious friend as you're trying to hold this together and make sure that, maybe you've already messed up, but you don't want to mess up again, and maybe you just want to prove that you have this trust between each other. So you may need to ask those open questions of, hey, what have I done to lose your trust? And when they answer, you can't argue with them. They're confiding in you what's wrong. You can't argue with them about what's going on. You have to listen to them. And the truth is, some friends will respond well to this, others won't. And if a friend doesn't respond well to talking about the truth, chances are they're not being very truthful with you. So you might want to watch out for what happens next if they're not responding well to this conversation about truth. Proverbs 18:19 says this: an offended friend is harder to win back than a fortified city. Arguments separate friends like a gate locked with bars. Once you've offended a friend, you've broken a friend's trust, it can be difficult to mend that. Harder than charging a fortified city. But if it's a true friendship, it's worth it. We have to learn how to kind of forgive and trust somebody again. And so that just comes back to, you have to be trustworthy. I know that's difficult because sometimes somebody tells you something and it's the juiciest information ever. You're like, oh man, if people knew this would be fantastic. But you can't break somebody's trust by kind of exploiting that and putting that out there. I have some good friends in the room. I'll use Danny and Chandler. How about Danny and Chandler? I am friends with Danny and Chandler. I am also friends with Danny and Chandler's wives, Chesney and Kathy. Now, guys, like girls, when we get together, we may talk about things that maybe, don't thrill us about our significant other. Like, oh, she always, has 14 things of shampoo in the shower, right? Whatever it is, we're always, kind of, just venting to our friends, because we have friends, and we just need to kind of vent about our spouse every once in a while because somebody's got to hear it. So, maybe Danny and Chandler confide in me about something about Chesney and Kathy, but I'm friends with Kathy and Chesney also. So, should I tell them? I'm like, man, Chesney, you wouldn't believe what Danny said about you. I have to decide which one of those friendships are probably most important to me, right? And I have to realize that Danny said that to me in confidence as a friend. And maybe Chesney said the same thing to me of, man, Danny leaves his shoes all over the house. Oh, I'm sorry if I wasn't supposed to say that, Danny. Danny leaves his shoes all over the house. But I can't go to Danny and be like, dude, Chesney was ragging you out for leaving your shoes around the house. Because that's not right either, right? I have to be trustworthy to each person in that friendship because they both might confide in me about the other person. Now, if it was something terrible, I'd probably have to intervene. But if it's just them, talking about general stuff about being married, then I have to be careful about the trust in both of those things. And trust grows over time. I'm not going to tell somebody that I just met like my deepest, darkest secrets. I have to build trust with that person over time. So be careful about how fast and how early you go all in on kind of, you just met this person, all of a sudden you're just confiding everything, because trust takes time to build before you kind of start confiding in everything. So I'm going to ask the band to go ahead and come up if they're not already. Colossians 3:13 says this. It says, make allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. So I got a couple things I want you guys to think about tonight. And because you're mature and you've had relationships and friendships, these are the things I want you to think about tonight. Who's broken your trust? Who in the past has broke... You put yourself out there for that person and they broke your trust. Who's hurt you by breaking that trust? And then what needs to happen for you to forgive them and just move forward? Because there's always somebody out there that's broken your trust, has hurt you, that you need to forgive and just kind of move forward. And then maybe, whose trust have you broken? Did you mess up and accidentally repeat something you weren't supposed to repeat? Do you need to go to that person and ask for forgiveness and say, man, I'm so sorry I messed up. I hope you can trust me again. I didn't mean to repeat what you told me. Your friendship means a lot to me. I want to be friends again. What steps do you need to take to rebuild that friendship that you used to cherish? Because I'm sure we all have friendships that it's like, man, I wish we were still friends. We just never got past that one thing that happened. So I got some next steps for you tonight, and these are on your connection card. If you'll flip that over real quick, I want you to follow along with me and check one of these boxes with me. The first one is this: I will put my friend first by blank. What are you going to do this week to put your friend first? Instead of this I, me mentality, what are you going to do this week to put your friend first? Are you going to get them a drink when you knew they needed one? You going to bring them cookies one morning or a donut? Man, a McGriddle could make somebody's morning at school, right? Like, check out, I went to Chick-fil-A for you this morning. Man, talk about getting a friend, right? I mean, that'll make you a friend for life. Number 2, I will have an open conversation. Who do you need to have a conversation with this week? Either about building your friendship forward or repairing an old friendship. Who are you going to have a conversation this week? Commit to this week you will have an open conversation with somebody as the next step. And the last one is, I need Jesus to teach me how to be a better friend. Because if you don't have Jesus as a friend, as the Lord and Savior of your life, you're going to struggle to have good horizontal friendships until you get that vertical friendship working. So if you guys all bow your heads, we're going to pray real quick, and the band's going to come up and do their last song. God, thank you for this youth group where we can come and just talk about real life, talk about friendships and how important they are to us, because we all want to have a good friend. But God, sometimes we mess up. Sometimes our friends mess up. God, I just ask that these students tonight have the strength and the power to either ask for forgiveness or grant forgiveness, to build trust back into their friendships, to look for ways to repair broken friendships, and how to build a stronger friendship by learning to talk and listen before they talk. God, I'm just so thankful that these students are growing every week in their likeness of you. Thank you for everything you're doing in this youth group. In your name I pray, amen. Come on up and worship with the band.